to end to ensure that they're creating products and brands that are sustainable and are leaving very limited, are leaving a positive footprint as they grow and develop. We also have Roundabout, which is a platform that we launched in 2023, which is a gathering space for brands, for creatives, for individuals, for anyone really who's interested in the concept or topic of sustainability, circularity, and innovation in Africa. And Roundabout community, essentially, the idea behind that is to bring like-minded individuals around these topics and to show blueprint brands that are doing really interesting things across the continent, but also to bring access to knowledge and information across the globe with regards to topics that are at the forefront of sustainability and innovation. And also to link those two worlds together to build the bridges between the South, the global South, and the global North. So thank you again for inviting me, and it's great to be here.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Ms. Adebukola. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, looks like our network is shaky. While we wait for her to connect again, can you drop where you're joining us from in the chats? Where are you joining us from? Are you joining us from Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja? Just let us know where you're joining us from in the chats. Nice.
Can you hear me? I was muted.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. Okay, good afternoon. Okay, my name is Adebukola Diogun, and I'm so privileged to be here. So I work with Fashion Revolution Nigeria. I'm the programs and event coordinator. At Fashion Revolution, we're into sustainability of fashion, and we're advocating for the reduction of fabric waste and fast fashion. So at Fabric Revolution, all we do is all about environmental impacts. We're concerned about what the fashion industry, what the harm the fashion industry is causing to the environment, to the planet, and most importantly, to humans. And here we come in to find solutions, not just to make complaints, but to also offer solutions. We work with the government, we work with NGO, we work with corporate organizations to, facilitate engagement, activate policies that also, not just about citizens, but also reflect on the duties of manufacturers, business operators. Because when we look at it, the industry is something that no one can do without. No one can ever go without wearing a clothes. So everybody is at risk and everybody is polluting the environment. So this has something to do with whether you're a tailor or not. Because even if you aren't a tailor or a designer, as a customer, you're also playing a role in the pollution of environment, and which in turn affects the climate. So at Fashion Revolution, we roll up active engagements, we roll up discussions, policy makings, and that helps us drive sustainability to the grassroots. We listen to those at the grassroots, and we help them hear their voices to those in the right places, in the government, in the corporate settings, to come together to see how to do things differently and more sustainably. And also there is something else we also do as Fashion Revolution, which is an annual program whereby it's a charity sale whereby people come in rather than just trashing your clothes. There are people who can afford to even buy a pair, no matter how cheap. This is where we come in. We do this event every year, and then it's a charity sales. People donate, individuals donate, organizations donate, manufacturers donate, and then we bring it to an open fair where those who cannot afford will come in and pick what they want, rather than individuals just stocking it up in their closets and not knowing how to discard it. So it's one way or the other, we are extending the lifespan of this clothing by revamping it and then helping others who cannot afford get something. And this has really been massive. Last year, we had a great turnout, a great impact, and which is pushing us to do better this year. So at Fashion Radar, a lot of things are going on globally, and we'll keep the public aware of our engagements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, our panelists, for joining us today. So we are just going to dive right into the questions. We have quite a lot of questions from our attendees, and I'm going to be posing the questions, and you can feel free to just take it up once I ask the questions. So the first question on the list is, what does sustainable fashion and the circular economy look like in Nigeria today? Why is it important? And I think this question is important because I've come across several people who think that the topic of sustainability, circularity is not something for Nigerians or for Africans, it's something for Europeans, Americans. So why is this important in Nigeria, or is it even important at all for us to engage with sustainability and circularity as regards to fashion? So, Ms. Onye, can you please take that for us?
Okay. I think the first thing we need to understand is that sustainability and circularity, they are models that we are implementing or adopting as an economy, right? And it's not a Nigerian thing, or it's not a European thing. So the idea around circularity and sustainability in Nigeria is that we don't have as much awareness, but I even believe that in our practice, as our local practice, there are some form of circularity, just that it's not called circularity, right? We have conversations of our grandmothers keeping stuff for their next, for our mothers, and our mothers keeping stuff for us as the next generation, being able to move items, clothing, and properties from one generation to another. As a people, we are very, very conservative. So you would see people, you repurpose their items and all of that. So at the heart of what we do as a people, we are circular and we are sustainable. And so when people say, oh, what's the idea of circularity in Nigeria? I'm like, this is just like it exists, but now is a better name, and is a model we want to adopt in our economy, because it's not just good for the people. It's a way to increase the economy of the country. It's a way to help manage our present resources, right? And so it's not just a Nigerian thing. It's a model we want to adopt, or is a model we are already adopting. And the best practice is to leverage what we know locally and adapt that with new information, new tech, and all of that. So circularity in Nigeria might seem new to some people, depending on the concept. But I believe it's something at the heart of what we do that exists already, and we are just trying to fine-tune it and be able to adopt it in different industries so that we have a more sustainable economy on the long run. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I definitely agree. Sustainability, circularity, they are just fancy terms for what we've practiced for like time past in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole. So where do we, as textile designers, as fashion designers, where do we come into sustainable fashion? Over to you, Aladima.
Okay. We as designers, where we come in is in terms of our designs, how we make what we do, and the intention of what we are doing. At the end of the day, to a very large extent, we as designers, not just in fashion, but we as producers, creators, we should, try to shift our mindset in terms of shift our mindset towards, having the end life of our products in mind when we are making them. So like what is going to happen to our clothes when the customer is done wearing it. Most of us, we don't, have that mindset. And also how we source for our product, how we source for our raw material, how we even, turn these raw materials into finished goods, all of this process. So it's not just about the waste, it's also about how you do it, how you get this material that eventually turn to waste at the end of the day. So this is like where we come in, because we are the one bringing this thing into the economy. We are the one pushing these products into the ecosystem. So to a very large extent, we should be accountable for some of the hazards we are seeing that these our products are causing to the environment. In as much as the customer, to a very large extent, dictates what we do. Now pushing it now pushing the scope not just for young designers, looking at big designers, big manufacturers that go to a large extent to increase productivity while driving down costs. In as much as customer are the one pushing for cheaper products, pushing for fast production, we still have like our influence on their choices. This is where education comes in, educating our customers. We as designers, we are not just making this product, we're also educating them on best practices and what their choice is causing to the environment. So these are like aside from all that, we also have to look at ways that we can make things better, since we know the end product of what we are doing. So we have to look for like creative ways to reduce the effect of what we are pushing into the ecosystem. So I feel like that is where we as designers and producers comes in all of this topic about sustainable fashion and circularity.
Great. Thank you very much. I definitely agree. Sustainability, circularity begins at the design phase. So it's very, very important for us as designers to factor that in while designing. So the next question is fast fashion something we should be worried about? How do we encourage ourselves to create more timeless clothing instead? Over to you, Ms. Sadibukola.
Okay. Yeah. So helping us create timeless look is actually it's a great way to help stop the pollution of fabric waste, because fast fashion it's neither good nor bad. In some way it has its benefits and disadvantages, but I feel what's most important is about how we tell the story or how we make it look. And more so, I think there should be a room for advocacy. There should be a room for advocacy. That will really go a long way. And because for designers, and I think designers are, if we're to look at the Nigeria sector as a focus, the Nigeria fashion industry, it's not helping in terms of circularity when it comes to fast fashion and textiles. Look at the party angle, the Ashrebi angle. I will look at our celebrities. Okay, from my experience being a fashion stylist, while working with some of these celebrities, just for photo shoots, we're using 5, 6, 7, 8 clothing and that they will not use again. And a celebrity could do a shoot like 3, 4 times in a week. He or she is wearing different outfits from different brands. Now, what's going to happen to this outfit at the end of the day? I believe that I feel these designers should come together. I can tell you there are some designers, oh my God, from my work experience, room stocked with clothing that goes nowhere. Because most of these celebrities, they rent this outfit, they don't own them. And it's left for these designers now to be creative. Instead of them just stocking it up I'm making something new for another client, I feel they should also revamp that outfit and make it look beautiful and different and unique for another client, rather than making a brand new costume, a brand new outfit for a shoot. Same thing goes for the ashrebis. Like I was discussing with someone yesterday, and I'm like, why do you have to make another clothes? You have this color. All you need to do is go with it. She said, no, she has to buy. Their hair tie is different. I said, then buy the hair tie and wear what you have. You have, you see people piling up clothes. What is happening to it at the end of the day? Like in what we're doing in Fashion Rev that also aligned with our goal at my company, Bukola Neville, is that we're revamping old clothes. For instance, we started with the traditional Iran buba. When I started this thing, I just made the announcement. You need to see women from UK, US sending me boxes of Iran buba. Some even had to go and carry their mother's own. And then we convert them to dresses, skirts, to with them bring out the modern trend out of this outfit. That is a way of also helping with, okay, you want to go fast fashion, you want to do what's trending, you can make use of that old clothes. Someone said something earlier, the first lady said something about grandmother's circularity. And it made me, while she was talking, I remembered while I was in school, the textbooks, this thing has been invoked, not just the way we understand it. Circularity has been invoked. It made me remember while in school, the textbook my elder ones used is what I used. My parents didn't have to buy another. And I think same thing goes with clothing, except in terms of sex. So there are a lot of ways that we can help this, we can make this work, but then it's a collective effort. We have to come together to do it. And then there should be a place for advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you are paying attention, she just dropped 2 to 3 business models while speaking. She talked about rentals, she talked about upcycling, and those are innovative ways, to run a business as a designer in the circular economy space. So how do we start sustainable fashion conversations in Africa and get people to actually care? Over to you, Ms. Zara.
Okay, I think something that Onye said in the beginning is actually quite important with regards to this question, which is that sustainable practices, circular practices are things that have already been happening for Africans for ages. It's nothing new. I think obviously the terms are what people are trying to get comfortable with or grapple with. But I think also even, with regards to the way that we create, the way that we design as designers. Especially with my work, with my practice, one of the things that I do is try to get brands to go back to the past. So yes, we say that these are the things that we used to do, and they're not necessarily new things, but the way that some designers design in today's modern world is not always very sustainable or circular, right? And sometimes designers are not thinking about the end of the garment at the very beginning. Sometimes designers are just producing, for runway shows or for shoots and things like that. And so I think the key thing, at least that what we try to do in bringing these conversations to the forefront, is just storytelling around how things are made. I think for me, that's always the approach. For me, it's less about the fancy word, less about sustainability and circularity, even though I truly believe in the concept of circularity, because I do think that if we apply all the things that we've done in the past, our ancestors used to do, everything had no end, really, right? The whole point of circularity is that it's a constant loop that goes one into the other. And so for me, yes, they're fancy words, but they actually have substance and meaning if we apply them. And so I'm more interested in application of these processes. So thinking about process, thinking about how things are made, right? What is the best way to make a garment or to make a t-shirt or a dress? What are the materials to use? What are the things to consider, right? And the only way to do this is to storytell around these concepts. So getting brands to really begin to explain and explore all the different elements around why they're making what they're making, and I guess we have all these, we're blessed to have social media and all these platforms that is, easy and accessible. Before, in the past, you would have to put a whole publication out and, do a whole press release and things like that. But instantly, a post you do can go viral, for example. So I think it's the onus is on designers to really begin to storytell around their processes, really begin to show why things are made, how they're made, and so that the customer as well can get comfortable with the process. They can understand why things are being made this way and understand that if all this time and effort has gone into creating this item, then it means that it's something that I should take care of. It's something that, shouldn't be thrown. We were talking about fast fashion earlier. And the reason why garments are easily thrown away is because they're not made well, right? And even within the context of Nigerian fashion, even if we think that our garments are made more sustainably here, sometimes they're not made as well, right? So yes, you can be using you can be wearing a beautiful ashoke dress or whatever that you think is sustainable, but is it made well? Can it actually last? Will the seams begin to fall apart, in a couple of years? So I think we need to start thinking thoroughly around process and storytelling around that.
Thank you very much. Just to jump on what you said about the garments being made well. I saw something recently on LinkedIn. Someone did a test and he said he got 3 t-shirts. He got one from a sustainable brand. He got the 2 others from non-sustainable brands. So one was, I think, eco-friendly material. The others were polyester. And he said, I think the cheapest out of all of these, which was also polyester, was what has lasted him the most out of the 3 t-shirts. Even the one that was sustainable or tagged sustainable had frayed after a few wears. So it's really important that more than the sustainability tag, that the clothes are also made well, because at the end of the day, if the clothes are not durable, then what are we talking about when we are saying it's sustainable, it's circular? If it cannot even stand the test of time, then how do we pass it down? How do we recycle it or cycle it into new materials? So thank you very much for.
I just want to jump on something that you said there, which I think is quite important to note with regard to clothing. Now, polyester is, essentially, I have this argument all the time. Polyester is made to last, right? Polyester is not everything made from polyester is bad quality, right? Like, so you'll see some well-made, big designers making jackets and clothing, there are lots of items that are well made that are made from polyester. And the issue with polyester is, there are multiple issues with polyester, right? So I think I'm not sure what the person's argument or the point of what they were trying to say is, whether they were saying that, it's about making things well, or that polyester sometimes. I think the concern that I have with polyester, first of all, is pretty much fossil fuels, right? It's pretty much petroleum, essentially, right? That it's made from. And not only that, but sustainability, it's not it's not black or white. There are lots of grays and middles, right? And what I would say is that there is this concept of things made to last, but this concept of things that are not made to last, right? So for example, you have this idea of something that's sustainable that can disintegrate, that has no impact on the earth at all, right? But then you also have something else that is made properly, that in the right environment over time will disintegrate, right? So both options are important within the context of sustainability. And so I would always, regardless of if the polyester item lasts longer, I would always go for the natural fiber material, because that for me is the one that first will do well with my skin, with my body, with the environment that I'm living in, but also the resources that have been used to create that as well are important. So I think it's important for us to understand, that's why I always advocate for natural materials, is that yes, within the right context, a cotton t-shirt will decompose, right? And it may very well be that t-shirt, I'd rather that t-shirt disintegrates like over time than a perfectly crafted polyester t-shirt that will never, ever, ever biodegrade, right? So I guess I just wanted to bring that up because sometimes it does come up in conversations with brands where they say, but I have this polyester and I know that if I make this, it'll last forever. But for me, I'm always saying that for me is not always the point. That's not always the key thing to look out for.
Thank you very much. So, still another question for you, Ms. Zara. So many Nigerians still view sustainability as a luxury or passing trend and often prioritize cheaper, fast fashion options over locally made, sustainable alternatives. How can we effectively shift the mindset to see sustainability as a necessity, not a trend? And how do we educate consumers on the true costs of ethical fashion so that they understand why our prices are higher?
Okay, so there are two parts to that question. Second part is more around sort of educating consumers, right? And the first part again, say the first part again, sorry.
Okay, so the first part is educating consumers. The second part is the first part is educating consumers on why the prices are higher. Then the other
Okay.
part is how to effectively shift their mindset to see sustainability as a necessity, not a trend.
Okay, so I'll answer the first part. The second part, sorry, is first. With regards to not really seeing sustainability as a trend, it's really just understanding that it's a way of life. Really, it depends on how do you define sustainability. For me, I define sustainability as applying certain levels of care and respect to everything around the way that we live, the way that we interacts with the world around us, the way that we eat, the clothing that we wear, what we make, right? And a friend of mine, that's a designer, talks about, this concept of humanizing materials, right? Giving humans, giving materials, approaching materials as if they were had some sort of human element or life to them, so that you can actually begin to treat them in such a way that you would a thing that has life, right? And so for me, if you have that approach, and that's pretty much how I approach clothing, I approach making, is to be able to consider how something is made and what something is made with, right? So I think back to what I was saying before is that it's not a trend because it should be a way of life, but also it is the way that we have lived. It's just the way that we're living now. It's just a poor reflection of, and I'm speaking generally now, we know there are a lot of people that are doing things, at a very local level in a much more sustainable way. But generally speaking, within the context of fashion and design here, I think that the way that we've begun to design is not necessarily as sustainable, right? And I would say that what is key is that people are removed from how things are made process, right? That's why process is very important for us, is to be able to say, okay, I go into a store and I buy a t-shirt and I have no idea how it's made. I don't know how that fossil fuel has gotten into this factory to create this, to create that, and how that shirt has been dyed, has gone from being yellow to now being white to being pink, the dyes, the negative dyes that have been put in that, the chemicals. I don't know all that process, right? All I know is I come into a store, I buy a shirt for 10,000 naira, and that's all that I know. And I think what is important is that designers, one, need to be able to communicate their process, right? Again, with the higher price point, yes, if you're making a better quality t-shirt, it is going to cost you more. And because I worked in the space for so long, I've worked with a lot of brands, and I can see the process. So that's when people say to me, oh, this is expensive. I know that there's some brands that are overinflating their prices just for the sake of doing that, or trying to match the dollar rate and things like that. But I know that there's some designers that have really showed me their costs and have said, well, it actually costs this to make this item. And if I put my, when you're doing business properly and you're saying that, this is what it costs to make the garment, but you need to add this amount and that amount on top of it to be able to make profit, you do things properly as a business owner, you see that that is actually the cost of the garment. Now, yes, it comes across as higher, but it's the actual true cost, right? And so I think that it's up to the designers to be able to bring those costs to the forefront and say, not that you have to document everything, but that you should be able to share that process, right? So this is where we got the fabric from. This is how we made it. This is, how our tailors are, this is the cutting process, just being able to share elements of design so that people begin to say, oh, wow, this thing was just not, you didn't just buy the fabric and got your tailor to sew it and you're calling it 2,000 naira for what, right? Just because you're using linen. It doesn't make sense. I can do it myself, because we have a very tailor culture in Nigeria. So anybody can make anything really, You need to be able to show the process. And again, the designer also has to do the work in understanding how to make things properly, right? So I think that is what is missing, is that to answer the question, that people are far removed from the process. If I know that this is what it takes to buy this and this and this and this and this, and that's how even luxury brands started in the beginning, right? They were made well. They were made with the finest silks that were being imported from Italy. They were made from, with this handcraft, half artisan using his needle and his thread to do this by hand, and all those things really show. And then by the time they give you the bag and they say the bag is $1,000, you're like, okay, I get it. I understand why. Maybe I can't afford it now, but I understand. I don't dispute that it should cost that much. So I think designers, bring your consumers, your customers into the process, and then begin to share with them elements around how to take care of the garments that they've bought from you, what to do with it, if possible, how they can bring it back to you for repairs, to whatever you can do to extend that product's life. Begin to communicate with it really is like, circularity really is about like the customer and the designer really working hand in hand, right? So I make a garment for you, but you also take care of it in a really good way so that it doesn't go to waste. Because I can make a beautiful dress for you, but you end up throwing it away because you don't know how to take care of it, right? And so it really is about that dialogue between both the consumer and the producer. But also, again, it really is about understanding that this is a way of life. This is how we should be living anyway. So again, storytelling is really important. Documenting is really important. And we aren't documenting enough as Africans. We don't document enough. We're very oral in our approach. And that's why, now if you're doing research and trying to find, write actual proper reports, there's not a lot that you'll find online, which is what we're trying to do now, is, create these platforms so you can actually start seeing things online that people can access and begin to reference for themselves. So I think those are the two ways that I would approach that question.
Thank you very much. So Miss Onye, in a country where second-hand clothing dominates, and local production faces major challenges, how can we build a truly circular fashion economy that centers both people and planet without excluding the informal players who already keep the system running?
Okay. I think where I always see solution from is the consumers, because consumers are the one who trigger demand and supply. Manufacturers have a part to play. Local producers, designers have a part to play. But I think it starts with the consumers, because if consumers are not aware, they don't know how best to implement. And so if consumers want fast fashion, or if consumers want certain things, that's what will sell. We want to also remember that the first aim of running a business is that you're running a business to make profit. So you're running a business because people want a product and you want to sell that product and make profit from it. So the first ground we'll have to probably till is to be able to create a more aware consumer environment, right? We need to educate people more to let them know that sustainability is not just a label or something. Like it's something we need to adopt. We already adopted, but we just need to do better. I think we are moving from being secular to being more wasteful as people. I was having a conversation with somebody about the whole Ashebi stuff, right? It's like a clash of our culture and sustainability. Are we going to say we're not going to do Ashebi because we want to adopt secularity? But if we find a way to be able to merge those two things together, where people can still do your Ashebi, but you do it in a different way, where those items are not items you wear once, right? Where those items or the fabric they use in making your Ashebi, you are more conscious if it's a
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to ask a follow-up question. How can we use tech to enable sustainable and circular fashion?
Um, so there was a time when tech was something you add up to your business to make it look nice and cool. I think in the world we live in now, every business has to adopt tech in one way or the other if you want to be sustainable over a period of time. Now, in the industry, we can use tech to create better patterns that won't waste materials. Let's start from production. We can use tech to be able to create a scenario. I think there's this Snapchat feature that some businesses outside our continent are using, like where people can be able to fit an item without wearing it, and they see how it fits. That's tech. Where we are able to use tech to be able to trace traceability of items being made. That's tech. So what I think is that for everybody because our industry is big, you can't do everything, right? For everybody in the supply chain, we want to see how tech makes it easy for people to adopt first and makes the process seamless without also bringing in the waste we are trying to cut out, right? So as closet sales now, at the moment, we run a marketplace. But one of the things that I've been grappling with is the logistics that come with us picking up items, taking it back, all of that back and forth that happens. There's some form of waste and climate issues around this logistics of our collection. But we can't say, oh, people post your picture because it's not convenient to the customers, right? People don't want to bring out the whole of their wardrobe, sit down, or they take pictures and do all of that. So we are leveraging tech to be able to create that marketplace where we are bridging the gap, but we still need to find a way where we can be able to revise our logistics and it's not costing so much. There is need for tech for upcycling so that we can be able to even scale our local practices, because we can't all sit down every day and just weave one clothes and all of that. But you also be thinking, when we leverage tech, do we leverage it for good, because at some point we are leveraging tech and it becomes mass production. So there needs to also be a balance around it. The smallest things business can do is even to start having traceability of their items when you make items, be able to have that traceability where people can even scan the QR code and they can say, okay, this is where it is made from. You're even able to put the details of the fabric of the items you have made. Because now, if that exists on our own end as collectors of these items for resale, we're able to even provide better information for people who want to buy it in the e-commerce sector, right? So I feel like tech is now like the way business is being run is tech, because even social media, where we want to tell stories, Sarah said something about how businesses should tell more stories. And it's social media we want to leverage, because with social media, you get more reach. With social media, you are able to tell your story better, reach more people, and see what other people are doing. So you're even inspired and motivated by what every other person is doing out there, even if they are not within your reach. With social media, you're able to see, oh, this is happening in the US, it's happening in the UK. That means it's something we can do here in Nigeria. So tech has come to stay. It's just for us to find how we can create that balance while adopting, because we can't just adopt everything, but we need to create the balance and ensure that when we're adopting tech, it's not just to adopt it as one nice thing, but you're also making it seamless for the customers. Remember, we are running a business. Unless you're doing a non-profit, then it won't matter, because secular founders always forget that you are running a business. We just go about, my business is sustainable, it's secular, and you see most of us struggling to even make revenue for the month. So you want to run a business, you want to see it first as a business, and know that sustainability is in your process. Sustainability is the value you now give to your customers. So we need to find that balance and be able to adopt tech where needed, because it's here to stay. It's no longer a nice to have, really.
Thank you very much. I definitely agree. Over to you, Aladima. Why do we have a negative impression of upcycling clothes in the fashion industry in Nigeria?
Okay, I think first of all, it has to do with the source of where the material for upcycling comes from, the stigma with, in quotes, okrika clothes, secondhand clothes. So that stigma also, then also the cost of, upcycled clothes, because it's more expensive than the regular fashion, majorly because of the process it takes to make those clothing. So I think um those are some of the reasons why there's still, like, that stigma with upcycling. So that is, but I mean, that's the problem, but that is where we as designers have to, educate people. Like Zara said, we need to do a lot of storytelling behind our process. When people see how you make your products, they won't mind the cost, the cost of those products. And also, still more, storytelling, transparency about, the hygiene, because we at ASAP, what we do when we get these clothes, we try clean them even before we start losing them, and afterwards making them. We also, the final dry cleaning, the ironing, and all of that we do, to ensure that these clothes are in good condition. So, making this visible to people. So you're telling them this is an upcycled product. This product is made from secondhand fabric. You're not just telling them and showing, giving them the final product and telling them all of these nice words. You're also showing them, from the market, how you source it, how you how you do it in your factory there. So all of this process, is visible to them, so that when they're having this bias, like, you already know why they're having this bias. So when you show them that, okay, this is safe, it's not expensive, but the process, because of the process it undergoes, that is why the cost is at that point. Showing them this, I think it will, go a long way to change and shift their mindsets with upcycled products.
Thank you very much. So as a follow-up question, how can we source dead stock fabrics? Or what are the ways to source dead stock fabrics?
Please, can you come again?
What are the ways to stock dead stock fabrics?
What are the ways to stock or source?
To source, rather, what are the ways to source dead stock fabric?
Okay, I think is how we source our own is from secondhand markets where they sell these items, and also from our customers too. So I think those are even designers too. There's a designer we're trying to collaborate with right now. How we want to go about the collaboration is them bringing fabric from their own studio, leftover fabric that they have in their studio. So these are like ways that we source products, where those items are not being used, like in the market. Some of these secondhand sellers, some of them, those items that are not in good condition, they find it hard to push them out. So they just have it in their studio, in their store there. And when it gets to some certain quantity, either they push it out or do this. I think I did the last time I went to the market, I was just talking to one of the sellers like, what do you guys really do with those ones that I buy? I mean, I can't buy everything because of the quantity. Uh, and yeah, I can't buy everything. So those ones I can't buy, what happens to it? So they're telling me that they have some people, but it's just once in a while they have those people. And sometimes when they have this in their store, I know this in this market they don't really have permanent structure. So it's either rain or like when those fabric gets wet, they are piling on each other. They start getting spoiled, and like that they just throw it at the end of the day. So, going to those places where this fabric are going to waste, that is where how you can source this item from, and from customers also, and even for individuals, not just for me. I need large quantities, so I have to go to the market. So for individuals, I mean, our wardrobe, we have lots of items are in our wardrobe that uh, items that you can bring to designer like us. We also, um, we also give customers the opportunity to upcycle clothes they already have, not just the one that we make for them. They can come, if they want us to, do the whole design process. Some of them even give us design that they want, so we will just tweak it here and there just to make it what they want. So these are ways that we source fabric and making sure that these fabrics are not going to waste.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So I realize we are way past our time. We are meant to stop at 4, but this is 4:01. So I beg for 15 more minutes from the panelists and the attendees. We started a bit late. Also, Miss Oyinye had to leave for another engagement, and she sends her regards. So over to you, Miss Adebukola. How can local industries be developed to produce eco-friendly textiles and dyes at scale? I repeat, how can local industries be developed to produce eco-friendly textiles and dyes at scale?
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so helping produce sustainable textile and dyes. The thing is that Nigeria currently we don't really produce fabric. And someone I think I can't recall her name said earlier when she was talking about polyester and all that. She's actually very correct in that regard, because I'm also in the production of t-shirt, and I use polyester, and I can tell you the durability is top notch because it's of high quality. And in Nigeria, this is our when we say because it's not true. The first point of call should be tailors, designers need to but they don't understand the principle of texture. So if they don't know these things, they don't know the types and kinds of textures, how do they even want to produce textures that are sustainable? Currently, the dyes we use are chemical based. And some will tell you, oh, it's organic. if the proper research or R&D isn't done, how do people know these things? And that is why I have a few clients whom I dedicate my time, myself, to produce their fabric. That's in terms of adire, because why? They are skin sensitive. They are skin sensitive. So this question is very broad. It's very broad. But then I think a proper training needs to be done for those at the grassroots level, like those at the who are really doing these textiles. If they really want to make it sustainable, they want to scale. She said something earlier about price. Some overrated the price and the costing and all things. Yes, these things are real. These things are true. These things are visible. But then, if people don't understand what they are doing and why they are doing this thing, then they won't get it right. So it starts with the local tailors being, first of all, educated in the area of textile and fabric sourcing. They also need to be educated in the area of dyes, colors, and chemicals. And before they can be trained on scaling. Because if your product is good, trust me, if your product is good, you would sell. Irrespective of where you are, you will sell. People would patronize you. Because the truth is that I usually tell my students that don't think the consumers are naive just because they don't know how to sew. Majority even knows this tailoring thing more than you. I tell you, at the level I am today, because I'm also a tailor, I don't like using the word designer, it's too overrated. But the level I am today in terms of quality, my quality control, quality assurance, in terms of my product, my finishing, I'm going to give the kudos to my customers. They made me a better tailor because literally they taught me the importance and essence of neat job, a clean finishing, a quality job. By the grace of God, today our products are SON certified because I want to be proud of what I'm giving out. I want to be able to beat my chest to tell you and look at a client and I said, this is high quality. And you meet it at that. It's not a matter of what I ordered, but what I got. So these things has to be bring down. It revolves about training. And then when it comes to training, it has to be, it has to be done by artists. That is where we also get it wrong. We just bring some random academia who knows nothing about the history of fashion or textile, who just learn to read some theoretical things, has no practical knowledge. Come and train people in practical stuff. I don't know if you get my point. So I think this thing, it's interwoven. It's interwoven. But then for your question, for people to, for tailors, for business owners to produce high quality textiles, dyes, and scale, it has to start from the very first point. What does sustainability mean to them? What do they know about fashion? Why are they even in that business of fashion? Are they there for because people are there for everybody is in business to make profit. We all know that. But beyond that, why are you there? If it's just for the money, then you don't care if your fabric, if your chemical, if your dye is hurting people. You don't care if people are getting diseases because of your fabric, infections. You don't care because you're just after the money. But if they put themselves first and they understand the essence of these things, then they'll do right. Currently, in my business, in my company, we're working on, we want to start using the chemical dyes. We want to go fully organic. And it's something we've been researching on. So it's this, I keep hammering on advocacy. Is that time we tailors, designers, is that time we start to walk the talk and not talk the walk? Is that time we begin to put everything we hear, we learn, or that we even say? Most of us, we say things we don't even do. You hear people, I hear this, I do this, I do this. I'm a sustainable brand. Nothing about your business. Nothing. I guess they will show you is, I'm doing Adire, I'm doing Ashoki, and I'm just, oh God, is this sustainability? No. Okay, I was 2 days ago, and before I could say Jack, she was like, oh, I'm a sustainable fashion designer. I'm like, oh, what do you do? She makes craft. She's into, she actually used recycling. She makes crafts, hair bonnets, jewelry, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, I get you. That is not recycling, my sister. That is upcycling. We are mixing these two words. You are upcycling. You're not, because even these things, these crafts you make, and I asked her a tangible question. After doing all these things, are there pieces or not? She said yes. What happens to them? You still have waste. And like what I do in my industry, that is where I come in. Every form or type or size or inch of fabric is useful to us. We work with it. Yet we work with it. But then she said, oh, she just discard them. And I'm like, wow. Then you are not in, what you're doing is you're upcycling, you are not recycling. So I feel that it's still more of learning and relearning and learning the right way and also implementing. And I feel there should be some form of body agencies that also, just like I know we have it, but I think they should do much more. Just like the way NAFDAC very certified products. The fashion industry, I know we have the SON and another, but I think they should be more proactive. This way, we would make real impact and real change in the fashion, in the essence of promoting fashion sustainability and circularity generally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was loaded. That was really loaded. I encourage you to watch the recording of this session once it's available, because you don't want to miss any of these points. She said a lot, and that's a lot that you need to ruminate over, think about over and over again. So over to Ms. Zara. How do I incorporate ethical and sustainable practices in an already existing business?
I think there are some, it depends on the kind of business it is, right? As I said earlier, I'm very much interested in process. And so if let's just consider it's a clothing brand, I would really, go to the root of, how things are made. And I think Adebukola made a lot of really interesting points. And I'm so glad that she said that, because people aren't really talking about that. People are always saying, I make adires, I'm sustainable. I showcase, I'm sustainable. Have you considered the dyes? Have you considered the fibers? Have you considered the polyester? All those things that people are not speaking about. And I'm so glad that somebody else, is really bringing these things to the forefront. And so I think that, if you're going to be a sustainable brand, you have to start from the very beginning. You have to really consider, okay, what does sustainability mean to me? As she said as well, and as I also mentioned in the beginning, is that what does it mean to me? Define exactly what it means, and how do we begin to apply it, right? How do we say, okay, what are we creating and why are we creating? Are we just creating a cool dress so that it can go on the runway and we can take pictures? If we want the dress to actually last a length of time, if we want it to have very limited environmental impact, if we want it to be used with the best materials, if we want to, what is our model around how we are creating? A lot of times brands are not really considering these ideas. They're just making cool clothes, and so I think it really is about taking not just one or two, multiple steps back, right, to the very beginning of. And when I work with brands, I find that we have to start at the beginning. You might look on social media and look like you're doing really exciting things, but by the time we get to the root of how the brand is being made, we'll understand that people aren't really, something as simple as packaging. Designers are still putting their clothing, delivering their clothing in plastic. A lot of times I'm like, well, no, we won't deliver clothes in plastic wrappers, because what people do is they just throw it away. So there are multiple ways, but designers are not thinking about that. It takes someone coming in to say, okay, have you considered even paper? Oh, maybe it's too brown, it looks too sustainable, too crafty. Okay, have you considered colorful paper, right? Have you considered other kinds of paper packaging as an example? So really, it's about looking at the different elements of how your product is made, how your brand is built, and then really, taking each one and thinking about what is the best way to do this within my capacity. Obviously, not everything will be possible at every point, but within my capacity. And then also we do a lot of sustainability action plans, which really gives brands the opportunity to set goals for themselves between, now and, short-term goals, 6 to 12 months, midterm goals, 1 to 3 years, 5+ years for long-term goals, and saying, okay, you know what, I have I want to basically incorporate some of these better changes into my brand. I want to use better quality materials. I want to eliminate plastic from my collections. I want to remove any harmful chemical dyes. I want to explore innovative materials. I want to explore other ways of other types of dyeing that's maybe not adire. I want to explore maybe uh, paperless options. Someone was telling me about delivery. There's some new delivery options now where I think there are zero emissions or things like that. Just exploring what it is like. But those are some of the things that we do when we work with brands, really understanding like what are the processes that are needed and how do we approach each one with a sustainable lens.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to pose 2 more questions and then we end this session. Have you been learning anything so far? Can you drop in the comments what has stood out for you since we began the session? Okay, so still to you, Ms. Odu, what are the opportunities for a career in the circular economy sector? So I know what most people are familiar with in Nigeria is fashion design. So, but what are some other career opportunities in the circular economy sector, the circular fashion space that people can get into? Hello, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can.
Did you pose the question to someone in particular?
Yes, I did. I posed the question to you. Let me go again. So
To me, Zara?
yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that was for me. Go ahead.
Okay. What are the opportunities for a career in the circular economy sector? So in Nigeria, the most common career path in fashion is fashion design, and we see that play out a lot even in circular fashion. So what are the other opportunities for a career in the circular economy?
Okay. Yes, there are lots of different opportunities for people beyond fashion. I think someone earlier mentioned something around the resale option, for example. There's been this conversation around, the stigma around, cultural issues around people not wanting to wear other people's clothing and things like that. But I think we can start to move beyond some of those stigmas and some of those things that are holding us back culturally. In the UK, in the US, for example, there are $1 million businesses that are running just off of people borrowing other people's clothing, right? So I have an event today. I have a dress that I want to wear. I put my clothes up for rentals. Someone else pays to rent that. They send it back to me, and the individuals that are making a lot of money from this, their companies are making a lot of money from this. So I think it's something that we can begin to even explore, because again, there is room for that. Then also with regards to even textile design, and fabric making as well, really understanding like what is the cleaner way to make adire, what is, how do we offer solutions around fabrics and textiles? Yes, we know that, in Nigeria, we don't really produce textiles. We just have cotton, which is funtoa in the north of Nigeria. But are there opportunities for innovation around how we can begin to offer designers solutions for textiles, right? I mean, I'm with my work, I'm constantly engaging with people that are, making textiles, making leather from mushrooms, making, and sometimes, with biodesign, for example, so biodesign is, using biology to design, thinking about nature and looking at nature and saying, how can I mimic nature, and create things like that. People are, sometimes you really can just start in your living room. It doesn't always require big funding or big experiments. Or yes, you do need to experiment, but I think people should begin to start thinking outside of the box. What are the things that designers need to create well-made products and garments, and what are those missing links, for example, right? Is it textiles? Is it fabrics? Is it the type of dyes being used? Is it the method in which we're dyeing? Is it screen printing? There's so many different opportunities around how garments are made, for example. I talked about the resale option. There are multiple options that people can explore, and I think that a lot of times people are focused on the easiest thing to do, which is to make clothing, right? So I think we need to begin to explore other elements, even upcycling and finding out, how do we preserve waste, right? How do we take waste and turn waste into other things? I had a meeting with someone last week who is basically using textile waste to create paper, right? So again, these are things that are opportunities, innovative opportunities beyond just garment making that we can begin to consider.
Thank you very much. I definitely agree. Even apart from, like you said, apart from the regular fashion designing as we know it, even other skills like content creation, like business development management, like social media management. These are some of the other skills that you can have and still be a professional in the sustainable or circular fashion space, because we all need these skills. Fashion business, I mean, business owners in this space, they need someone to create their content, they need an operations manager, they need different types of people that traditional businesses also make use of. So apart from fashion designing, you can think about some of the skills that you already have and how you can use that, to serve businesses, organizations, not especially business. If you are good at research, there are organizations in circular economy, sustainable fashion, that do research. You can lend your skills to that area as well. Thank you very much. So the final question, and this is over to you, Mr. Debukola. What are those things that must be put in place to stop Africa from being a place where developed countries dump their wastes? So what we call thrifts, Okrika, what are those things that we must put in place in Africa to stop developed countries for dumping their waste on us?
Oh my goodness, this is a very deep question. I usually hear the word in the open market when I go, and then there is this word that they say, and I'm just like, well, it's true. All fingers are not equal. We'll be like, if not for Okrika, how would some of them wear clothes? Because not everybody can afford the the ready to wear or the big designers or what have you not. But these questions, and if this kind of thing would be stopped, it's businesses like my colleague here, Azak, who is into revamping of second handmade clothes, right? But at least he is converting it into something new. This is something that has to do with the government, because they are the one who permit the imports of this thing. So it's a policy, it's a dialogue that government officials or the speakers, those at the high table, needs to be on the seats to dialogue for a way out. And the one of those ways would be that it literally it centers around the government, and we the people, it's vice versa. That the government also, empower our citizens, invest in the fashion industry. We see the way they do it in China. It's really a long process. I don't know how if we can ever get there. I was still seeing a video of kids. The highest should be whether 7 years, making clothes in China. Kids here running up and down. They say charity begins at home. How are we catching them young? How? How are we catching them young? What are they learning? Yes, it's good to go to school. Education has its time and place. But the extracurricular activities, what are they learning? What are we teaching them? Go to 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. They get home, then the electric comes in again. I don't understand. I think our system is so they monopolize in a certain direction, which is not, it's not good. And we keep complaining about the government. Fine, the government have their place. This import of used clothes is in the place of the government. If we advocate and we come to terms and conditions, we create policies around these things that we are able to monitor what are the level or the quality of fairly used clothes that are even coming in. What is the state of these clothes that are coming in? How usable are they? Because truly they make us a dumb mind. How useful are they? And then the place of we, the citizens, what are we also doing differently to help the government? Because we all are the government. The decisions we make in our private space also affect the outcome or the impact of the government. How are we also helping? Take, for instance, the designers. Some tailors are so wasteful. They don't know how to cut. They just cut your clothes and just mess up your fabric. It's a big deal. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. It goes around. It's deeper than just saying this thing. Because I look at Nigeria for now. We can't stop this. Like not the next 5 years. I'm not exaggerating. I stand to be corrected, but I don't see it. Because it is whether it's even whether it's importation for making us a duplicate that asks for him or her. Whoever has passed that bill, but whatever decision, whatever advice, idea around, it boils down to the government to give a ban on these things. But then when a ban comes on these products, what happens to the thousands of citizens whose hope is on this, whose life, whose insurance of having a good clothes on solely relies on these fairly used clothes? What happens to them? And let's not forget that this is a business of people. This is like business. This is what they use the power of their business. What happens to them when we ban these things? So many things need to come to place. I don't. If you go to super, there is this popular market in around in Lagos mainland, around in a local government. They call it, common name is super. I don't know the other name. I think that's the name. You need to go to place on a Monday morning or on a Wednesday morning or on a Friday and see the crowd. See the way they are offloading bills. Second, fairly used clothes, shoes, but name it, whatever you're looking for, you see it there. Let me even bust your bubble. Do you know some boutique? When I recognize this boutique, I think I can satisfy, I can guarantee the source of that boutique. Is that they cook there, some boutiques, they cook there. So for 4 days, the eat have been graded. That even comes with their tax. And they cook there, you that. We are just deceiving ourselves. And then our own production here, tailors, designers, manufacturers, not helping. But I think our pricing is also affecting our production and our sales. Because the truth is China in terms of production. And then we have to be reasonable. That's the truth. That man is daily his income per month. And that person who is earning 70,000 and the person afford can the person afford to buy an outfit, just one, for 50,000 or for 20,000. So if we would look at mass production, if we can, look for the thousands of people who live on this fairly used import clothes. If we must take it out, if we must stop it, then we should have already prepared an alternative, something to back it up, something to replace it. We can't just take it off like that. There should be a system. It should be a gradual process, not a one-off thing. There should be a notice out, a gradual process, stage by. It should be a stage up thing, and then basically, I think that's the only way to go about it. If our governments, when I say government, I don't even mean the people, the politicians. I mean government, like in terms of system. If our system is also conducive for manufacturers to produce, to sell, and to make meaningful profits, I think we would grow. And if we can also do more in terms of vocational training, I think our major problem is also labor. Labor, you can, if you ask tailors now, I know a number of people who calls me and be like, oh, Neville, please, I'm looking for a tailor. I need a tailor. The problem is massive. So we can't just take this thing off. We can't just ban it. There'll be a series of engagements, discussion, policies, structures that would be going on the ground before this thing can be totally taken away, because it means you're stopping the livelihood of thousands of Nigerians. You're also stopping business. You're also taking away business from thousands of Nigerians. So it has to be a continuous discussion, a continuous engagement. And I pray with the right mind, with the right heart, with the right people, with the right vision and commitment, I believe we will get somewhere someday.
Thank you very much. There are multiple touch points that needs to be addressed for an effective solution to this problem. I think that's where solutions like, or conversations like just transition and extended producer responsibility comes into place. Unfortunately, we won't be able to go into all of that today, but thank you very much, our panelists, Ms. Adebukola, Mr. Aladima, Ms. Zara. Thank you so much for the knowledge you shared with us today. If you've learned anything at all, can you drop in the chat what stood out for you? And can you also appreciate all of our speakers? So to round up, one thing I'm going to say to everyone attendee is that sustainable fashion, secular fashion, it's a process. You cannot get it right all at once. And so that is where transparency comes in, even with what you are doing in communicating with your customers, communicating with stakeholders. Okay, at this point, we are trying to work on our packaging. Once this is where we are at, we are trying to sort out our sourcing, or we are trying to, get more sustainable dyes or more environmental friendly dyes. So just communicate, be transparent about what you are doing. Realize that sustainability is not like it's a journey. It's not, you can't be all sustainable all at once and get it right all at once, and just keep engaging, keep learning, keep engaging. You can engage with all of our panelists via their social media, via their organizations. We are going to make sure to drop all of their links, the organizational links, in the mail with the recording, so that you can engage with them further, and you can even reach out to them via email if you need more guidance, and you need their services too. So thank you so much, Ms. Zara. Thank you so much, Mr. Adebukola. Thank you so much, Mr. Aladema. So, Mr. Adebukola, how do we continue to engage with Fashion Revolution, the programs, if we want to collaborate with you? So, because I know that there are a lot of people here that would want to collaborate with Fashion Revolution in one way or the other. So how do we do that?
As many who wish to keep up with us, you can follow us on all our social media handles as Fashion Rev Nigeria. And you can share my number with any one of them for any further discussions. Every of our engagement we post on our social media handles and on our website as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. So we've come to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Make sure to look out for the
Thank you so
recordings
much.
in your mails, and have a nice evening. Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye everyone.